Hello everyone, I would like to welcome you to the fourth episode of my show HI.STORY, Stories from History. Today's story will be built on a slightly different system than you are used to from previous episodes, because I will focus on just one person with absolutely exceptional story. So, take a seat and let us take you back in time to say hi to Stories from History. As I mentioned before, in today's episode we will focus only on one person. This special person is a Polish soldier, Witold Pilecki. Witold was born on May 13, 1941, in the town of Oloniec in the Russian Empire. Already in the First World War, to be more precise in 1917, joined 16-year-old Witold anti-Bolshevik resistance. He stayed in the army after the end of the war, and he was awarded, even twice, the Cross for Bravery. In the interwar period, Witold graduated from grammar school and university, and in 1931 he married Maria Ostrovska. They had two children, Andrzej and Sofia. He founded together with his family a dairy and a farm, and all of them were living a happy life in peace and freedom. The turning point came on the fateful 1st of September 1939. Hitler's and Stalin's armies launched an offensive against Poland from opposite sides. Pilecki didn't waste any time and immediately mobilized. However, his division was already dispersed 5 days after the start of the war, and Witold began to be fully aware of what was happening in the world. Therefore, on November 9th, he established a secret Polish army in Warsaw, with the intention of sabotaging the occupiers and sending information to the United States. In 1940, Pilecki presented to his superiors a plan to infiltrate the German Auschwitz concentration camp in order to obtain information about the operation of the camp and organize a resistance among the prisoners. It's September 12, 1940, and Witold Pilecki is, on purpose, going to the streets of Warsaw under false documents during the Gestapo raid. Witold is arrested along with 2,000 other people, and after 2 days of detention and beating, he is transported by train to the worst concentration camp, Auschwitz. Witold describes the journey as the worst in his life. The journey to the camps usually took several days, although some transports could take weeks. Prisoners were extremely tightly packed onto their transport, so much so that it was usually impossible to sit or kneel down. A typical transport contained approximately 1,000 people. Conditions inside the transport were extremely inhumane, and for some lethal. The transport usually held little to no food or water, and had no toilet facilities except one bucket in the corner, which quickly became overfilled. The smell of vomit, urine, and excrement was overpowering, and most transports had no windows or ventilation. As such, many prisoners died on the road to the camps from dehydration, starvation, or suffocation. Pilecki still got to the camp. He survived the selection immediately upon the arrival, and after shaving his head, disguised in a prison suit, he received his number 4859. Pilecki was horrified. Nobody in USA or in other states thought that Auschwitz's main goal was to exterminate unwanted people, Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, disabled people and many others for the German Reich. At this moment, Witold Pilecki voluntarily got to the places where 2,500 people die every half hour, where all hope is lost, dreams turns to dust, and the death of innocent men, women and children is all around. Despite all this, Pilecki organized a resistance group in the camp. Throughout, Witold tried to increase morale of others, and he was giving them a larger ration of food too. He also survived pneumonia and other diseases. From October 1940 he even sent messages to Warsaw, and from March 1941 Pilecki's messages were transmitted through the Polish resistance to the British government in London. In 1941, his resistance movement, with the help of a radio transmitter built by the prisoners in the camp, transmitted details of the numbers of new prisoners, numbers of deaths in the camp, and condition of the prisoners. The secret radio station, built after 7 months from smuggled parts, broadcast until the autumn of 1941. These reports, the so-called Witold reports, were the main source of intelligence for the Allies about the Auschwitz concentration and extermination camp. Pilecki hoped that the camp would be attacked by the land army, or that the Allies would lend troops or weapons. However, these plans were assessed as impracticable. At the same time, the reports which were coming to them were so scary and unbelievable that they didn't give them so much attention. Pilecki sent 100 pages of messages, such as there are 3 crematoria in the Auschwitz, which are able to cremate up to 8,000 bodies per day. The Gestapo, meanwhile, has stepped up its effort to track down members of the resistance in camp, and killed many of them. Pilecki decided to flee the camp and personally convinced the commander of the land army that there was a possibility of rescue operation. When he was assigned to a night shift from April 26 to 27, 1943, outside the camp, he defeated the guards with 2 other prisoners, cut off the telephone line, and fled with documents they had taken from the guard. Not only that Pilecki went to the camp, he organized the resistance, he sent information, but he even escaped from Auschwitz. After the escape, Witold alarmed the army, which rejected the liberation of the camp due to lack of forces. Both allies from the west or east didn't trust the reports from Pilecki, and the camp wasn't liberated by the end of the war. Witold Pilecki didn't surrender, and until the end of the war he led the resistance and took part also in the Warsaw Uprising. Pilecki survived the war and returned to his family. He also wrote a monograph of Auschwitz and all the atrocities he saw. Socialist influence in Poland grew, and the situation as early as 1946 was critical. Polish government in exile has decided that the situation for the liberation of Poland from the Soviet grip doesn't hide hope. In July of that year, Pilecki was informed that his cover had been revealed and was ordered to leave the country. However, he refused. In April 1947, he began gathering evidence of Soviet atrocities and accusations against Poles and their executions or imprisonment in the Soviet gulags. On May 8, 1947, was hero Witold Pilecki arrested by agents of the Ministry of Public Security. He was imprisoned and brought to justice. He was repeatedly brutally tortured, like tearing nails, breaking bones, crushing his testicles, before his trial. On May 3, 1948, a political trial took place with Pilecki. Among others, Józef Cyrankiewicz, the future Polish Prime Minister and himself a survivor of the Auschwitz concentration camp, testified against him. Pilecki was accused of crossing the state border illegally, using forged documents, evading military service, possessing illegal weapons, spying for generals, spying for foreign imperialism and USA, and preparing to assassinate several Ministry of Public Security officials. Not even the President of the Republic or other representatives of countries accused him. On May 15, 1948, Witold Pilecki was in fabricated trials sentenced to death. 10 days later, 47-year-old Pilecki was executed on May 25, 1948 in Mokotów prison in Warsaw. His remains were thrown into a mass grave without piety and haven't been found to this day.
I was not an intelligence resident, only a Polish officer. I carried out my orders until arrested. I had no sense that I was a spy, and I asked that this be taken into account in deciding my verdict. I've been trying to live my life so that in the hour of my death, I would rather feel joy than fear. So they didn't let anybody else off. I can't live anymore. They've done me. Auschwitz was just a child's play.